Today, we caught up with Mary Knapp, Assistant State Climatologist at Kansas State University. After a month where many of us felt like we saw little to no rain, she provides the outlook on what farmers can expect here in July.
Here I serve as an outreach person for the State Climate Office, and what we do is make sure that weather information is available to the citizens of Kansas. Behind us we have the campus weather station. It's a manual station. We come out every day and take the temperature and precipitation. We also have a series of mesonet stations. Those are automated weather stations. You can find that information online at mesonet.ksu.edu. The difference between the two is I only have to come out here once a day. The mesonet stations measure data and it's updated online every 5 minutes. So if you're interested in just how hot is it right now, you can check that out and see. We have over 60 around the state. So there's one near you and you can find out what conditions are like. You can also get the wind, the heat index, animal comfort index. There's a raft of information available.
Excellent. So we just went through the month of June where I think a lot of us felt like we never saw a drop of rain. And I know you guys are tracking with the Drought Index. What are we looking at as we get into July and maybe even August, if you can determine that at this point?
Well, right now, June was very dry. It wasn't our driest on record for the state, but it certainly was down in the bottom quarter of events. It was actually about the 17th driest June of record for the state of Kansas. Some places saw moisture, mostly in the central and north central parts of the state, but there were a lot of areas that didn't get anything or much at all, less than a couple of inches, well below what they would typically see. And that is reflected in the current U.S. Drought Monitor. The western areas of the state are in extreme to severe drought. As you go along the southern border, it's a little bit more in the extreme to moderate drought. But what's also noteworthy is that we're seeing some moderate drought showing up in southeastern Kansas, and that is kind of a shock. They had the wettest start to the year on record through May, and then basically the faucets got shut off and they were getting well below what they normally would get, less than about 25% of what the normal June rainfall is. And that, of course, is reflected in the worsening drought conditions.
So is there any optimism for July? Should we expect some moisture?
Well, we are forecast to be drier than normal. That does not mean that we don't get anything at all. It means that it isn't what we would typically expect to get in July. And that not necessarily will result in drought everywhere. If you get adequate moisture every couple of days, you and your crops can do fairly well. It's when you go for days on end without any moisture, with some strong winds and some high temperatures, then things really start to go downhill and we start seeing problems. And that is actually our outlook for the next week, is for much drier than normal conditions. Southeast may get a break. They may see as much as 1.25 inches, which would be slightly below what they would get in a week's time, but certainly more than they've seen in June. The rest of the state will be lucky to see 1/4 inch. To put that in perspective, here in Manhattan, we would expect to get about 1/10 inch a day as we go through the end of June.
Well, thanks, Mary. We really appreciate that update, and certainly we'll all be crossing our fingers for some rain.
Thank you.